We've really increased our short-term missions opportunities, really targeting, hey, we've got Gardner Webb students that are coming in for, 2, 3, 4 years, and then they're being sent out. Well, can we get them to live in a going fashion now? Can we get them to go across their hall and share the gospel with a friend, with a teammate? Can we get them to go across campus? Can we get them to give their spring break and go to Guatemala?
Yep.
Can we get them to give their 6 weeks in a summer to go and do, a city project or summer project with us, where they're getting domestic missions, some 4 weeks of equipping and training, and then a week of international missions all in a summer? If we can get those yeses, then we can get more yeses of going and sending once they graduate.
This is Breaking Barriers, where we help pastors and churches grow so that they can go.
Hey, welcome to the Breaking Barriers podcast. We are here today at the North Carolina Pastors Conference. And Pastor Skip Allen, who has become a great friend of Mercy Hill Church, he was just on a panel discussing some of the growth stuff that they've seen at their church. And I just thought it'd be awesome if we could just hear a little bit from you about what God's been doing at your church. We've been hanging out a lot together and doing some things together, and it's been really awesome to kind of be in that with you. So let's just start off, kind of tell about how Hope Community Church in Shelby came about, if you can kind of unpack some of that.
So I was a part of Element Church that's based out of Forest City, North Carolina. This was, I was a campus pastor for their Shelby campus that started in 2012. We were a portable church, met in Shelby Middle School for several years, moved over to our local YMCA. We were growing. That campus was running about 300 in 2015. But there was this thing that God was doing in the background this whole time, where I was driving to our Element Shelby campus random Sundays here and there, and I would pass by what was Second Baptist Church.
Were you like the campus pastor?
I was the campus pastor for Element Shelby. And so I would drive from my house to our campus on Sunday mornings, and I would just feel this leading from the Holy Spirit.
Right.
Didn't know what was going on, why, but I would pull in to Second Baptist Church's parking lot. I never went in, didn't know anybody from there. A lot of times it was just a 10-second drive-through. Like, Lord, I kind of feel crazy that I'm here.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be obedient, and I'm going to just pray. I don't know what you're doing, but Lord, have your will. And I'd pull out, and I'd go, and we'd go to Element, and then we'd set up and do our thing. And so that went on for several years. Went from the middle school to the Dover YMCA, where Element was meeting. And then in October of 2015, I had went on a little personal spiritual retreat.
Okay.
I was feeling some restlessness, that God was getting ready to do something, but I didn't know what. I was gone for Tuesday and Wednesday of that week on this little personal spiritual retreat.
Okay.
Come back Thursday, and I was telling some of our other staff members at Element, like, I don't know what, but I feel like God's getting ready to do something. We literally had a prayer time together. It was me and a coworker, Jeff Marburger, who's a pastor friend of mine. He said, let's just pray. We literally got down on our knees, prayed. God, we don't know what you're doing, but you just show us, and we want to be obedient. Got up from that prayer to get in my car to go do a Bible study at Gardner Webb University, just close by to us.
Yep.
Had a voicemail to call a pastor that I didn't know. His name is Jeremy Peeler. So I called Jeremy, and he says, hey, my name's Jeremy Peeler. I'm the pastor at Second Baptist Church. This is the facility that I've been driving through their parking lot. And I said, man, you're not going to believe this, but I didn't know why. But I've been driving through your parking lot for years now, just saying little prayers that I didn't even know what I was really praying. He said, well, I think I know why you were doing that. He said, I'm the pastor at Second Baptist Church. I want you to come by, and I want us to talk about what would it look like about Element Shelby and Second Baptist Church merging together.
I mean, how big was Second Baptist at that time?
Around 50 people.
Oh, wow.
Is the number that I've heard a lot through the stories.
Okay.
I mean, Second Baptist at one time was a thriving church in Shelby. 500 plus back in the early 90s. Great facility, but it had dwindled down through splits and different things, different pastors coming through, and they had about 50 people who were really using one room in the entire facility. They weren't really using the auditorium. They couldn't afford it. And they had enough vision to go, hey, we can keep chipping away at the bank account just to pay the power bill, or we can do something really open-handed and radical with this facility to see it be used for another generation. And so that was really the start of what became Hope Community Church.
So it was a merger.
It was a merger.
A campus of Element Church and Second Baptist Church.
Yep. And going into it, I really thought, well, Element Shelby's just going to move on to this campus, and it'll keep functioning that way. But Neil Perry, who is the pastor at Element, he's a mentor in my life. Like I love him like a father. During that season, he said, I don't think this needs to be Element Shelby just moving onto this campus. I think it's time for this campus to be released and become its own autonomous church through whatever that's going to look like through this merger.
Okay. So, lots of growth you guys have seen in the last since you planted the church, since the merger happened and Hope Community began. But you were already part of a multi-site kind of church, so you had some of that philosophy.
It's in our DNA, for sure.
Yeah, that was already part of the DNA. And so, I think one of the coolest things, over the last few years, you guys able to start Second Campus. Can you talk a little bit about what that process was like?
Yeah, so with multi-site being in our DNA and then merger being how we were formed, we began to pray about other parts of our county. In Cleveland County, where we're from, we started praying about the upper part of Cleveland County and began to go to different sites there, just praying in parking lots, saying, Lord, where do you have us?
Now, did you already have people coming?
We had a lot of people that were driving down.
Okay.
Yeah, just not a lot that was going on in that part of the county.
Yeah.
The way we're structured and just the culture that we have. So we were praying, Lord, I think you're doing something there. Thought we were walking through another merger situation, and that's a longer conversation for another podcast. But through that, the Lord brought us about 80 people to be able to start a campus in Upper Cleveland County. And so in September of 2018, we launched that second campus. It was portable as well in Burns Middle School. And so that was going well. We had kind of bounced around between schools in that part of the county in 2018 and 2019. And then COVID hits in 2020, and that campus had to move out of the schools just because of...
So, did that mean that the whole thing had to shut down, or
we had purchased a small storefront in that part of the county that the plan was to launch it as a coffee shop. Okay. But the Lord used it, as provision in that season where we moved out of the schools there. We moved into that facility. It was kind of a 1930s two-story general store kind of feel. Yeah. And so we were able to sustain that campus to be able to meet there in the meantime, but that was also when the Lord began to stir more intentional steps for growth and for establishing that campus more. So it was during that period, in the middle of COVID, 2021, 22, when we began to pray, this is not sustainable in its current facility. And so we're going to have to take some steps of faith. And so in that time, we purchased 10 acres directly across from Burns High School, which is one of the 4 high schools in our county. And so we said, hey, we're going to purchase this land. We're going to put a permanent facility there in the middle of COVID. Doesn't make sense, but this is what God has called us to. That was finished up last August. So we just celebrated the 1-year anniversary in that campus, and it's tripled in size since we opened it. We've been able to really impact that community, bless that school. We've been just an open door for, if they need a place for a sports team to practice, sure, come use our auditorium. If you need a place for a recital or testing, it's opened so many doors for us to be able to influence and impact that school with the gospel. All
right, so let's talk about over the last few years, what has the growth rate looked like at Hope Community Church? If we can get down to brass tacks with some numbers and all that.
Yeah, so we were growing, I think a lot of churches similar to us, and then COVID hit. Yeah. And that became really 2020, 21, and almost to the third quarter of 2022. Yeah. That was an excuse for us, really.
An excuse?
Yeah.
You mean where you're...
Well, we can't do this, we can't do that, COVID. Yeah. It was just kind of this weird excuse for not growing, not, moving forward. And finally, About the time we met you, well, not met you, but really moved into a new season with the guys at Mercy Hill, and before Breaking Barriers was officially a thing,
right.
Coming into ascending cohort with you guys was really the time frame where we said, you know what, COVID's not an excuse anymore. We can either circle the wagons, kind of land the plane and not move forward, or we can shake ourselves out of this sleep we've been in, and let's put the pedal back down. Let's keep moving forward. And so through being, in the ascending cohort, putting some best practices in place, really since then to now, we've almost doubled in our average attendance from what was really our average attendance post, that initial COVID, to now we're averaging right at 1,200 people in weekly attendance.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I think that it's you mentioned the ascending cohort. I think for context, people probably ought to understand, before Breaking Barriers was even a thing, the original vision, like where all this stuff kind of started, was we were like, what if we could pull together 5 churches and just kind of walk with these churches and help them grow, and then also be able to send. And I think a lot of that, y'all are part of that. You are a huge part of that. Just big success story coming from that. The way that God worked in all of it was amazing. But a lot of that came from relationship, like pre-existing relationship. And you and I had worked together back before I was at Mercy Hill, and I was working for the state convention, doing college ministry stuff. And you guys were positioned there right at Gardner Webb, and you wanted to see some things happen on the campus.
Yes.
So that's kind of what got us acquainted and started having conversations about ministry and all that. How would you say that your ministry at Gardner Webb has fueled what's happened at Hope Community Church?
It's one of the biggest parts of it. We always had a lot of college students just because of the style that we were. It was attractional for them, but we weren't being intentional with it really until you came into the picture, helping pour gas on that fire with allowing us to have a full-time college pastor, and that college ministry developing and growing from just a college ministry to college and young adults, with a vision of growing and going. And so through that, we've really increased our short-term missions opportunities, really targeting, hey, we've got Gardner Webb students that are coming in for, 2, 3, 4 years, and then they're being sent out. Well, can we get them to live in a going fashion now? Can we get them to go across their hall and share the gospel with a friend, with a teammate? Can we get them to go across campus? Can we get them to give their spring break and go to Guatemala? Can we get them to give their 6 weeks in a summer to go and do, a city project or summer project with us, where they're getting domestic missions, some 4 weeks of equipping and training, and then a week of international missions, all in a summer? If we can get those yeses, then we can get more yeses of going and sending once they graduate.
I just love the way you're talking about that progression of yeses. And just it's so important for people when you're trying to create that sending culture. They've got to have some yeses that they feel like it's a really hard yes, but that after they say yes to that, you're going to be asking them for some more yeses that are even harder.
And you got to keep interrupting. You got to keep like at our Shelby campus, it's the oldest part of our church, but we just recently this fall had experienced a new surge of growth, and we had to go to 3 services. Well, we completely altered the service times where you could not stay at the exact same time. We've got to pick and choose and move and say, yes, I'm willing to come earlier to free up a seat now, or I'm willing to come later to free up a seat now, which might not seem like a big thing, but in the grand scheme, it's almost the snowball effect. I'm willing to say yes to this. I'm willing to go there.
It's their rhythm.
Yes.
It's something that is part of their, if it's a family, they got kids and everything, and they're trying to get to a certain service, and now they're having to switch times, and it just interrupts the whole rhythm of their family. So I think that's awesome. The way that you guys even think about, you had to add a 3rd service, and you weren't willing to just let it sit there, to let the ceiling kind of, as we say, hit back. You're going to create more space for them to come in.
And we had been there before. We had experienced similar tension and size restraints in falls before, and we weren't quick enough to make the decision. You know, that speed of decision making. And finally, we knew it was coming. We'd grown through the summer, and we started looking at our staff and saying, look, nobody wants to add a third service and be more complicated. Like, I'm not chomping at the bit for preaching an additional time on a Sunday morning, but we finally looked at each other and said, we either have to be honest and say we're done growing and we don't want to reach more people, or we're willing as a staff and leadership to be uncomfortable and make the decisions to, yes, we have a size issue at our Shelby campus, so we either add more services or we begin to die. And so we said, we're going to make the decision. Man,
I just love the way you put that. I mean, it can be a little contentious, because where people say, hey, we're kind of at a place where we don't want to stress people out, adding an extra service. We don't want to cause those kinds of inconveniences. Adding extra worship services, it doesn't allow the body to be together in the same kind of way. But you just said, if we don't do that, then what we're saying is we don't want to grow, and we're okay with these people not coming to Christ.
Yeah. And we had done that in falls before. Like, we had experienced the growth, had these big Sundays, and then what do you see? The rhythm of it slowly. If people think there's no room for me, then there's no room for me. And we just weren't willing to make that decision this time. Like, we're gonna move forward. We're gonna grow because it helps us go. It helps us send more, reach more, and that's what we're called to do.
Hey, so you mentioned that the speed of decision making. So how long did it take for you to make the decision to add that extra worship service?
So July and August, we saw the trend. We knew as soon as Gardner-Webb comes back, unless something catastrophic happens, we're going to need it.
You're going to hit that scene.
So we had been praying, talking to other churches, like, what's the best option? Like, we didn't go completely reckless into, hey, we're doing 3 services this way, and whoever it burns out, it burns out. No, we talked to multiple churches. What are alternate times? Could we go to a Thursday? Should we try Friday? Do we go to a Monday? Is it 3 on Sunday morning? Do we come back on a Sunday? So we had surveyed, we had talked, we had done our homework. But we had everything planned and prepared to, when we see the last Sunday in August is busting at the seams, we're going to make a decision. We knew, in the normal rhythm, the last Sunday in August, that's going to be the peak. Labor Day weekend's going to be a little drop-off because people are doing their last vacation of the year. And then we're going to hit a steady rhythm the rest of the month of September. And so we had the plan in place to roll it out in September, that the first week in October, here's the 3 new service times.
Wow. So you're talking about first conceptualized and seeing that it's coming in like July.
Yeah. Probably 2 months that we said, hey, we got to do this.
You're watching it.
This is where we're going.
But very quick turnaround. Communicate it to the church. Be ready to go.
And we had done a lot of dripping before we dropped it. We had talked to key leaders who were serving.
Dripping before you drop. I love that, man.
So we had talked to people that we knew they don't need to hear about this on Sunday morning for the first time from the stage. Like, they need to have had a conversation and know the reasons why and where we're going, and be bought in so that they can help sell and promote this with everyone else to get everybody on board. So, and we had done surveys for the entire Shelby campus. Like, if we did an alternate time, which one would you be most likely to come to? We talked to our staff. We have a very young staff that are in a season with a lot of kids playing sports through the week. And we, being as close as we are to Mercy Hill, the Thursday night option was very high on the list. But when we really talked with our staff in the season that we're in, we figured it was going to burn them out faster and cause more harm than good in the season, because my son has baseball practice and her son has soccer practice, and they're here. Like, that's just the reality of where we are in this season that led us to say, okay, the wise call for our church, for continuing to grow, for the health of our staff, is 3 services on Sunday morning. Okay, so
that's how you solve the immediate issue.
Yes.
To be able to continue growing, you got to add the 3rd service. At some point, I mean, I'm imagining that helped you grow a pretty good bit. What was that like? Like, how many people?
We've been able to sustain it. That's the thing about it. Normally we would see the spike, and then through the fall we would begin to dwindle.
Okay.
We've been able to see it, sustain it, and we have room to grow continuing through the fall.
So you still have some more space.
Absolutely.
Eventually,
Yes.
that third service gets filled up.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have some more decisions to make.
Yes.
So maybe you're not ready to talk about this. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but would y'all be ready? Would y'all be thinking about? Do you add a fourth service? Do you build a new building? Do you say, okay, we're going to go to a third campus?
Mm-hmm.
How is it that you're thinking about that?
All of the above.
So any of those could be an option.
We're praying. We're coming out of a 3-year campaign where we were raising funds for a church plant. We sent a church plant to Hickory.
Yeah.
We upgraded some of our children's facilities at our Shelby campus, and then we built the permanent campus in Upper Cleveland. And so we're finishing that up this year, and we're praying right now, like what's the mountain beyond the mountains?
Yeah.
Like, God, what is it? An expansion and a remodel at our Shelby campus.
Yep.
That facility was built in the 1970s, but it was built in such a way that it was designed to have a balcony in the auditorium.
Uh-huh.
And so, okay, do we come back next year, the year after, and say, all right, we're doing an expansion at our Shelby campus, putting in a balcony, expanding more meeting and lobby space for people to fellowship before and after. But also, God, are you leading us to start a third campus?
Mm-hmm.
That's been something that's heavy, and some of our staff are chomping at the bit. If we started a Boiling Springs campus, they would have started yesterday, because we have a lot of people coming. Gardner Webb's right there, and so again, like this last season, having the yes on the table, and if that means some people move campuses, if that means some people shift roles on our staff, whatever that may be, that is definitely things we are praying and considering for the next season.
Man, the awesome thing about that, when people start moving to different campuses, it's not a much bigger ask for them to go plant a church.
Yep.
And you guys have already done that once. You just talked about that Hope that's in Hickory. So you've already planted one church.
Yep.
But also, I know with Matt's influence on your staff in particular, nations is a really, really big deal.
Yep.
So what does that look like? How many people have you sent to the nations at this point?
So we've really been ramping up our short-term efforts. And one of the things, we've had a long-standing partnership in Senegal in West Africa. And in the last couple of years, we've purchased land there. We've built a training center there. Joe and Melissa Fleming, who are missions partners of ours, are returning to the field in January. And one of our hopes and goals is with, that progressive yes, especially with college students going from maybe a 1-week spring break to a 6-week summer to a 3-month residency in West Africa.
Okay.
And so that is what we're looking at next for long-term international missions as a next step.
That's the next big step.
You can go live in Ziguinchor in southern Senegal at our facility doing reproducible discipleship training all through West Africa for a 3-month period that who knows how God will use that to call them long-term.
That's awesome.
We sent 42 people initially with our church plant in Hickory, North Carolina with Pastor Kenny. And, with partnerships with Mercy Hill and Breaking Barriers and NC Baptist, we're praying and preparing now for when's the next church plant from Hope, whether that's a parent plant or a partner plant, with some Gardner Webb students that are in our residency right now that are looking to the residency in the future. So, hopefully that number increases in the future through local plants and international missions.
I got ideas on that.
I know you do. Yeah.
We won't get into that. We won't get into that. That would be great, though. Man, I just so appreciate your friendship, Skip, and the way that the way that God is working in your church and how humble you are in the midst of all that stuff. And man, I just love your entrepreneurial spirit in all aspects of your life, the way you love your family, and man, you're the real deal. And so just so appreciate you and appreciate you coming and spending some time and telling Hope's story.
Well, man, I appreciate it. I say it all the time, but Hope Community Church would not be where it is today without Mercy Hill and Breaking Barriers and the way God has used you guys in our lives. And so I'm eternally grateful for you and the entire Mercy Hill and Breaking Barriers team.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for being here.
Thank you.